What is up, fellow open world anime gamers and gacha gamblers? I hope you guys are doing well. Today we are going to be talking about one of the most unique things that comes with playing Wuthering Waves, and that is the echoes. So what exactly are echoes? Well, for those of you who don't know, echoes are basically collectible open world mobs that grant your resonators with various abilities and stat boosts. You can think of echoes as collectible gear sets as well. So if you're somebody who plays other gacha titles like Genshin Impact with artifacts or maybe Honkai Star Rail with relics, then you kind of get the gist already of what echoes do to your character's stats. Now, the major thing that makes Wuthering Waves different from obtaining these gear sets or echoes is that you can find them in the open world, which is pretty cool for the most part. However, in this video, we will be diving more deep into echoes so that way you have a full understanding of how they work by the end. So let's dive right into it. First things first, we need to talk about the data bank. The data bank helps you track and level up your echoes. As you level up your data bank, the rarity of echoes becomes higher and you get more echoes more efficiently. You will also receive more stamina for your echoes, which will help you in long duration combat. For example, boss fights that are very difficult. You will also get more echo slots available so you can equip more of these echoes, further pushing your character stats. The goal for the data bank is to push your data bank level to the highest level possible so you can obtain better echoes and accumulate better stats for your characters. I really like this feature. It's one of the most unique things about Wuthering Waves as a gacha game as opposed to other gacha games. It feels like a Pokemon gotta catch 'em all type of thing, except it's more like Ben 10 because you can morph into these echoes and use them in the midst of combat like you got the Omni tricks. Eventually, you're going to want to make sure your character echoes are all golden echoes with the correct stats to build them to the best of your ability. To speed up this process and leveling up your data bank level, there's actually quite a few things that you can do. You can go to the tasks fields in the open world and consume your wave plates or stamina to be able to obtain these echoes a lot quicker. However, do be careful on wasting your extra materials to gain energy quicker because these materials are more scarce and it's better to stack these over time for a character that you absolutely need or you really want to build. There is also another great feature called the Echo Merge feature, and in the Echo Merge feature, what you could do here is merge unwanted echoes to discover new echoes at a higher rarity. This is very useful for when you are trying to upgrade your data bank level quick as well. Just make sure when you are doing it, you are actually only getting rid of unwanted echoes that you might not use for your characters later. Another cool thing that I personally like doing is going through my echo gallery to see which echoes and rarities I need to continue leveling up. And I'm gonna make another Pokemon reference, so if you're mad about it, well, my bad, home slice. But the echo gallery really reminds me of the Pokédex. You can see pretty much all the information you need when it comes to farming these echoes and basically which echoes and what rarities you are missing so that we can work towards those goals to help better your data bank level. You can also go into co-op with a buddy and make the process faster in the open world because you can farm echoes from other people's open world games as well. Too bad for me personally, I don't got many friends to play with, so this option's out of the park for me. But now hopefully you guys have a proper understanding of the data bank leveling system and learned a couple things to help you level up faster. And trust me, it becomes quite a grind and you want to get to it as fast as possible so that way you can maximize your characters as quickly as possible. Hey you, about 99% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you made it this far in this video, smash the subscribe button to never miss a video. Thanks. Now, many of you have heard of the number sets 44111 or 43311. Well, to explain that, these sets of numbers are different types of echo setups to maximize your character builds with the pieces. Echoes are assigned CP or what we like to call cost points. These points determine how many echoes you can equip and have a cap of how many echoes you can actually equip. Echoes also have rarities, as I mentioned before. These rarities are 4 cost, 3 costs, and 1 cost. And don't ask me why there are not 2 cost echoes. I guess the development team's least favorite number is number 2, or they just hate 2 for some reason. With that said, it's very important to know the higher the echo cost does not ensure you get a better build for your characters. Also, you cannot use 2 of the same type of echoes because it could cancel out what we like to call a Sonata Effect, which would be a very big mistake when it comes to building your characters and what we are about to go over in the next topic. Now, what exactly is a Sonata Effect? Sonata Effects are buffs or enhancements that are triggered when using a certain combination of echoes. This is important to remember because this is going to make your character stronger. Sonata Effects buff different base stats like attack, defense, HP, crit rate, crit damage. You kind of get the point of what I'm getting at. Sonata Effects also give you specific ability enhancements that can help out your character's skills. Some Sonata Effects give your characters elemental boosts depending on their element. These Sonata Effects are activated by pairing up specific element echoes and provide lots of different buffs to your characters like I mentioned before. So we mentioned that when you activate a Sonata Effect, you gain an increase in base stats. Now this is activated in what we like to call a 2-piece bonus. And the way you activate this is when you use 2 of the same echoes from the same element on on a specific character build. Now, there is also a 5-piece bonus stat when it comes to these Sonata effects, which with proper research, you will begin to understand that these are crucial for tougher battles. And the 5-piece bonus that you receive from having 5 of the same elements may come in handy down the line when you are building your characters up to the best of their ability. So overall, Sonata Effects is just not a passive bonus, but they're a core part of customizing and optimizing your characters for combat. And when you have 3 different characters on one team composition and a whole bunch of Sonata effects going hand in hand and helping out each other, then with the correct strategy and approach to this, you can create some pretty sick characters and pretty sick teams. But because this is an echo guide talking about how to actually obtain these echoes and how to farm them quickly, I'm not going to be getting into what are the best teams and the best characters to use together, because this is more of a guide to farm echoes more efficiently and so you can understand what echoes are and how to farm them. So with that said, let's move on. Alright, so let's talk about main stats now. When it comes to main stats, specific echoes carry specific main stats that you can't obtain on other echoes. For example, 1-star echoes can only carry attack, HP, and defense main stat, while 5-star echoes like the bosses can carry every single stat for a main stat in the game. This is very important to know because as you are building your characters, you're going to come across the hardships of actually obtaining these specific stats. And the main stat is only half the battle. There's a bunch of different stats you can obtain from your typical base stats like attack, HP, and defense, all the way to the fancy main stats like energy regeneration and elemental damage stats. So depending on whether you're building a DPS character like maybe Jinshi, Carlotta, or Camellia, then you want to focus on those damage stats like crit rate and crit damage, and also try to focus on those elemental damage bonus stats like, for example, if you're building Jinshi, Spectro damage, or Camellia, Havoc damage. While on the flip side, if you are building characters like Varina or Shorekeeper who are support characters to help your main damage dealer do better in combat and your main on-fielder stay on the field longer, then you may want to consider getting the main stat of energy regeneration over those other DPS stats like crit damage and crit rate. Now, I did mention before that this is an overall echo farming and echo explanation guide, and we won't be jumping into the specific of when it comes to specific characters and how to build them, but I am going to mention this very useful info broker website that I use when it comes to building my characters and comparing damage and stats. Now, this website is actually called pridewin.gg, and if you are familiar with my channel, I mention Pridewin, pretty much very often. Now, the main reason why pridewin.gg is very useful when it comes to farming echoes and building characters is because this website provides tier lists, character rankings, guides and tips, character databases that provide best builds, equipments, and synergies with other characters, and they also provide resource calculator and tools, so they show you how strong characters can become and a whole bunch of other statistic stats if you're into basically min-maxing your characters out. However, if you are a visual learner over somebody who likes to read to learn, then you could browse through YouTube and search up very specific creators that are very good in this type of niche. And they do similar things like they do on pridewin.gg, except they have it in a video format, so that way you can learn visually rather than reading up on everything. Now, with every single given main stat, you are always given specific substats as well. These substats are going to make up the quality of your echoes. For those of you who are familiar with these gacha games, getting the correct substats is the most important part after getting the correct main stat you are looking for. And I hate to say it, but if you are a veteran gacha gamer, you know how much of a total nightmare this is. And as I mentioned before, if you are looking for specific characters and substats, you can use pridewin.gg or watch your favorite YouTubers who are really good at this stuff. They also added a very cool feature in recent patches, and I'm not sure when exactly Kuro Games added this to Wuthering Waves, but when you are pulling specific substats, you can actually back out and it will be highlighted in yellow the good substats that you got for this character type. For example, if you look over here at my Camellia really likes building off of crit rate and crit damage, as I mentioned before in the main stat topic of this video. So now under her stats on this echo, it's highlighted in yellow as good job, you've rolled the correct stat for this character. This is just another way to determine if you are actually rolling good substats on these characters that you are trying to build. And if you take a look at my Carlotta over here, then you would see that she likes to build off of similar stats like Camellia. Carlotta enjoys having crit rate and crit damage and also attack and all those DPS type of benefits that will help her deal more damage in combat. Now, there's actually a cool thing that you can do, and I hope this tip will help you guys out when it comes to building your characters and also save you some time from the most insufferable part of actually rolling the correct main stat and substats on your favorite echoes. And that's if you notice, Carlotta and Camellia have similar substats and main stats that they like, correct? Well, let's say another character comes out in the same element like Camellia. Camellia is a Havoc DPS, correct? So if you are a player that has been playing, you understand that you unlock unlock Havoc Rover down the line in the main story. So if you did build Havoc Rover, who is also a very amazing and capable DPS, especially for a main character and free 5-star character, then you can probably use the same echoes that you used on Havoc Rover onto Camellia, because they both require the same types of substats and main stats. For example, the Havoc elemental damage stat, crit damage, attack, and crit rate, you can use them between the two characters rather than trying to roll for them twice, because 9 times out of 10 when it comes to building multiple teams, you are going to want to have different elements when it comes to the DPS characters on your teams. So this is something that I found cool and very useful when it comes to these gacha games. I use this tip when it goes past Wuthering Waves. I use it in Zenless Zone Zero. I used it in Honkai Star Rail back when I played. It's just a very good thing to know and a very useful tip, so that way you're not wasting resources and wasting potential good echoes that you could be farming on another character. So I hope this helps. Now, leveling up echoes consumes level up XP materials, and a big mistake gamers make is just level up echoes to max level and then start using tuners to roll into their substats, when you should be doing this more simultaneously and being more careful with your XP level up materials. Now, there's a bunch of ways you could actually min-max this so you can waste the least amount of materials as possible, but I will let you guys know what I do. What I personally like to do is when I get a decent main stat on a specific echo, I level it up by 5 to 10 levels and then roll 2 substats, because sometimes it's not even worth investing a lot into an echo. In this game, I want to remind you that materials are very scarce and they come and go very quickly. So when you commit to leveling up an echo, just know it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Of course, as you level up echoes to the max rank, they will provide more stats for your characters, making them stronger as well. Now, before I wrap this video up, I want to go over mistakes that I personally made and other gamers make, so that way you could have an easier time when it comes to farming these echoes. So when farming for echoes, while learning the game, I made simple mistakes like leveling up echoes too early. For example, I didn't know I wasn't going to use any of the lower rarity echoes. Do not want to invest a lot of your materials, especially the echo level up materials, on echoes you are going to end up getting rid of or using into the echo merger. And I was just mentioning this in the last topic of the video, but echo materials and level up XP materials are very scarce. And it is also very important to note that you do not need the best of the best echoes in order to clear the main story or the main contents within this game. It's once you start heading towards the end game content is when you want to start mid-maxing your characters with the best main stats and substats possible. To add on to that argument, I would like to also say that Wuthering Waves combat takes lots of skill. So as long as you become decent at the combat in this game and master your characters, like I said, you should have no issues clearing the main story of the game without wasting very important resources, because you really want to save those resources when you start mid-maxing your characters, as I mentioned before, for the in-game content materials within Wuthering Waves like Tower of Adversity and the holograms. Another mistake I made very early is not considering the Sonata Effect, which I mentioned earlier in this video. When you just slap random echoes onto a character, you are actually doing the character an injustice and of course yourself. I would also like to mention, when it comes to building characters with the perfect stats, I would recommend focusing on obtaining those good main stats first and look to get decent substat rolls. They don't got to be perfect. A mistake I made, especially when I was building my Camellia, was trying to mid-max my Camellia and get the best substats possible so that way she could deal lots of damage, instead of focusing on her main stats and getting some decent rolls and building other characters that need to be built on my main team composition. So now I pretty much have one tanky, really good character, and my other 2 characters on my main team are scuffed. So now I gotta focus on building them when I could have just built them decently and then clear some of the end game content and gain more of the free open world rewards. Another pretty huge mistake I made was not taking advantage of limited time events that Kuro Games puts out from time to time to help with these farming of echoes. Now, missing these isn't like it's gonna be the end of the world, but it definitely could have helped in the long run. So if you are choosing to basically commit to Wuthering Waves or any other gacha game of some sort, then those events are very important to not miss. But as I mentioned before, it's not the end of the world if you miss them, but they could help speed up the process when it comes to building your characters. Well, you guys made it to the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you slap the subscribe button so you can find your way back to my channel. Leave a like, comment your thoughts, let me know anything that you can give for extra tips for a new player or something that you may know that can help other players out. Make sure y'all join the community Discord, link will be in the description, and have you guys a nice day. Peace out.